Welcome to our podcast on The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. You are listening to Zelda Pot Smashers.
So, who are we? My name is Canyarion on the forums of Zelda Universe, by the way. My first name is Stephan, or Stephan, that's fine. We have here Martin and Frank.
Yeah, hello. My name is Martin. I'm Rosendahl at Zelda Universe.
I'm Frank. I'm also known as TourianTourist.
So, Oracle of Ages, which is basically one half of two games, Oracle of Seasons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about it? I personally think they are some of the most overlooked Zelda games.
If that's true.
They never got that much attention, even though they're still pretty solid games.
Maybe recently have been released for the Virtual Console on the 3DS. So they have gotten more attention recently, but the years before they are some of the least known Zelda games, least played.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I started playing them, because I saw them on the 3DS Virtual Console, and I'm on vacation. I wanted to relive the childhood. Me and my brother had both games, and I never completed them.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, it is.
I finished Ages, but never Seasons. So right now I decided to replay Oracle of Ages. Martin, you did the same thing, right?
Yes, I played Seasons first and Ages as a Link game, and recently I played them once again within a month's time, but they're still great games. There's some small differences we'll take throughout the podcast with Ages and Seasons, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Another edition, not this one.
And Frank, how many times did you play the games?
I finished about 6 times, I think.
Wow.
I originally completed them on the Game Boy Color back in 2001. And I did it about 3 times on the system, and I also replayed them other times, and now on the Virtual Console to write a ring guide for Game FAQs. The first complete ring guide ever made, where every detail about the rings.
Nice.
So I did this back in June this year when the games were released for the Virtual Console.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, what do you guys think of the story of the game? Maybe someone wants to give a very, very short version of the story.
Yeah, with your playthroughs, I think you'll be the best for that, Frank.
The story is about time travel, pretty much. In the Oracle series, you have the Triforce in Hyrule, time after Link to the Past, where the Triforce got secured, and the Triforce sends Link to missions, in this case to the land Labrina, where evil sorceress Raren takes over the Oracle of Ages, Nehru, tries back to the past and just causes havoc. People get turned to stone, and she's trying to build a tower, the Black Tower, creating desperation among the people of Labrina.
Yeah.
It's a really cool concept to have like a evil character who can possess others and like make good characters evil.
That was nice.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Martin, what did you think of the story?
I was missing some kind of main character to bond with. We had Ralph and we had Nehru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ralph is more like the guy who makes you look good compared to him.
Exactly.
A fun element. Like he just runs around and bullies you for doing nothing, while actually you're the one who's doing all the work.
Yeah, he's a fun guy, but like Martin, I also really felt I was missing a girl, or like you usually have Zelda to care about, but you don't have her here. In Link's Awakening, you had Martin. But in this game, who are you living and fighting for? All these guys are a bit impersonal, you know?
Or you could say the same about Zelda in the regional games, like she's just taken away by Ganon and you never actually met her, you're just going and rescue her. At least Nehru at least met her once in the beginning of the game where she's singing and looking good, and then we get abducted and with these older games, the stories were not as important. Like we created a setting, but there's no.
Yeah, but how
as
old
big
are
story as like in Skyward Sword, where you have the Zelda, where we really care about her. You don't get this in the older games.
These Oracle games were released after Ocarina of Time, and only a few years before.
This was a Game Boy. It was a smaller Game Boy games, and not like the big Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah. Well, either way, I thought the story was pretty average, if that's the correct term.
Yeah, of course. I think some people actually really like the story, at least compared to Seasons.
Yeah,
I think there's some pretty good humor in the story. For example, when you save the macro tree and she wants to marry you. I at least had a laugh on my face.
It can also be pretty. The story can also be pretty dark. I think, like with a whole theme that she returns to the past and destroys everything. And
yeah, I think they were going for sort of this Majora's Mask feeling of this whole world is going to be destroyed. How terrible!
Well, it's not as extreme as Majora's Mask, but still one of the darker Zelda games story-wise, I would say.
Yeah, but it didn't really work for me, to be honest. Maybe I should give the game another chance sometime, but yeah.
Yeah, you could revisit it.
You will replay it anyway if you have to. If you want to really go for it.
But I do agree about the humor of the story. It's like I was laughing out loud a couple of times.
Yeah, there's some good things about it.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about, just to ask, about the time traveling?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's...
Because you have the two worlds, and there's always happening something between them.
Yeah.
We talk about story-wise. You have, for example, the Sora King who's poisoned, and you have to save him. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering...
Yeah, and in the beginning he's not in the future, and when you save him in the past, suddenly he's back in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just to make clear for people who haven't played the game yet, there's a couple of 100 years between the timelines, right?
Yep. 400 years, I think.
Yeah,
400
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Soras live long.
That they do.
Yeah.
At least the king.
I liked the time traveling. I think it was time travel done right. But I know you didn't like it, right?
I didn't like it in the beginning. I was, when we spoke the first time, during one night in our game session, I was a bit annoyed about it, but I had played through the game one time and guess I kind of liked it there. But as I moved on, I started liking it again. But I think sometimes the time traveling can take a lot of pace out of the game if you don't know where to do the time traveling. For example, when you have to go to the Soras, if you stand in the wrong spot and you do the time traveling, you get taken back and you'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
At least I think it took out some pace there, and it could, be annoying in some parts.
It's really cumbersome, the whole thing, and
it takes time.
Like with Ocarina of Time, the whole time traveling thing is really inconsistent, and some stuff doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah, but you don't travel...
Majora's Mask is the only Zelda game where the time traveling works for me in the system, but in this case it's...
But in this game you travel so much through time. I mean, Ocarina of Time, I think you can beat the game with just traveling back and forth a few times, right?
You have to go back for the bottom of the well dungeon and for the Spirit Temple. That's it.
You also lock down to go to the church, where in this game you can do it pretty much freely anywhere you want. And I think that's charming in the game. That you can
that's what I liked.
Time travel everywhere, at least when you get the last song. And having two worlds to explore with differences all over, I think that's amazing. So I think there's some really good sides to it. I just wish there was a bit easier way to do it.
Should have been faster.
I think we wasted some potential with it, because I think we could have done more with the whole thing.
Either way,
really change the environment in a big way, something like that.
Yeah, but it's a fun aspect of the game. So, what we both noticed the last time, I mean, Martin and me replayed the game recently, and you probably also...
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So, what we noticed was how linear the game is.
Yeah.
It's one of the most linear Zelda games, I think.
There are more linear Zelda games. And there are many linear Zelda games, especially games like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword.
Yeah, but if you compare them to the old ones before this game, at least.
Yeah, if the old ones, it's one of the more linear ones. That's cool. That's right. Yeah. You don't have any choice in the dungeon order. Like you can't swap dungeons like you could like in Elite of the Past or Queen of Time.
Yeah. There's just one order, and even when you exit the dungeon, the Maku tree tells you what dungeon to go next to.
Yes, it does, except
it's like
the last
same,
one.
In Link's Awakening was the same. It's like you complete a dungeon and there was a small message where the next dungeon would be.
Yeah, but I don't think they lead you I don't know why, but I think it led me more, at least, in both ages and seasons, as I've played both. There is always the marker tree telling you where to go.
In seasons, you can still swap dungeons, but two of them are, but
that's good.
You can't do that in ages. In ages, it's very linear order.
Yeah,
still.
But at least the dungeons itself have more non-linear design.
But what I think this does when they say go to this place is that you'll take out some of your desire to go out and explore and try to find the dungeon by yourself, because you know where to go. You have to
That's a good point. I think the whole overworld is very linearly structured. It really follows the dungeon path.
Yeah.
So it's really just about getting from one place to the next.
And the way the game works.
There isn't really anything more to the overworld than just the path to the next dungeon. That's a good point, actually.
The way the game works is that
it's not so much fun to explore. He's right. The overworld is not so.
It just locks one area of the map with one item.
Yeah, and then, like I said, it's usually overworld is like this time traveling stuff. Like especially the Zora Sea or Talos Peaks is all just time traveling puzzles, like getting from one place to the next, using time traveling because in one time there's an obstacle, then you go back into the past, then you bypass the obstacle and you go back to the present and something like that. It does that a lot, and it kind of hooks the overworld a little bit.
To me, it felt very linear. It's not a big problem, but still. So
I agree with you, Stephan.
We were talking about puzzles, right? Like traveling back and using the time, like the different items in the overworld.
It's a very puzzle-heavy game. I think it's a big feature of Ocarina of Ages. If you think about Ocarina of Ages, it's a puzzle Zelda game. It has many puzzles.
Martin,
I must say I've replayed like both games, like the game twice within a month, just Ages, and I think that it's nice with the puzzle because they're well thought out. Because I have some problems with the puzzles, even though it's only a month since I played the game. But I guess maybe it's my mind.
That's a great point. Usually puzzles don't have any replay value. Like if you play an easier Zelda game like Phantom Hourglass, let's say, or Spirit Tracks, the puzzles are very simple. And if you replay the game, they feel like cores. Like don't really have to think about them, like moving a block onto a switch or light a torch. Very simple things, and it's just boring to do this again. It just gets in the way of the game flow.
Yeah.
And in this game, it actually manages to have puzzles which has replay value.
I think a good example would be when you go to the Gorons. You have the dance. You have the whole trade sequence between them. And I remember getting lost there the second time again, and I just couldn't find the little small guy. And took me 10 minutes.
I already beaten the game 6 times now.
Yeah.
And each time the Jabu Valley dungeon still gives me trouble because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
It's like the 2D water temple.
It's worse. It's like they took the worst part of
it's definitely worse
compared
to the water temple.
And made it even.
Yeah, it's worse than the water temple. It's like really complicated dungeon. But I enjoy that. I really enjoy that because I have to use my brain. I have to think about it.
Well, about Jabu. Oh, sorry, Stephan.
Well, if you've played the game 6 times, then that's the dungeon that stays interesting.
Yeah,
but if you just want to go through it once, it feels like even the developers didn't know how to figure it out, how to beat the dungeon.
Yep.
I remember there was one key for me in Jabu the first time I played, and I just couldn't find it. I used half an hour to find that where you have to go down the stairs, use the long switch thing, and the second time I played, I thought, okay, this time don't forget this part, and I forgot it again. Yeah. Used a lot of time to find out.
So
kind of like this. And I don't know people who hate this who like the dungeons to be more simple and more with a given path, but I enjoy these maze-like dungeons where
it's nice.
Yeah.
Where you get stuck, where you okay, what do I have to do? It's more game-like. It's a game, and you want challenges, and
you have to stop up and think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I get past this?
Yeah, you have to travel between rooms so much, and it's they did that very well, I think. Yeah. They could do that more in the next Zelda games, like more difficult dungeons.
What's your favorite dungeons in the game? You two?
Oh,
you go first.
Well, I actually think it would be maybe the first one due to the difficulty with the hearts you have, and I actually think the first boss was quite difficult because you only have the 3 hearts, and I love the fights, but
I think this goes for all first bosses in usually this is like critical.
Yeah, but maybe actually Jabu Jabu, I think it was because of the complicity and that even though you revisit it, you're replaying with a month between, you will get stuck. I did, and I know I would again if I played through it. I think so.
I don't really have a favorite, but what I did like was the music in the Mermaid's Cave. Really catchy, really good music. And
the game just has good dungeon music in general, I think. One of my favorite dungeons is Moonlit Grotto, which also have great music and good visuals. And I think for the third dungeon, it's pretty cool. It introduces these turntables. I think this is a cool puzzle.
Yeah, you enter one way and it turns, and then you exit another way. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good point. It's nice with the trains.
Yeah, that's a good puzzle. So, anything else about the dungeons?
Not really. I don't know what to say about them.
What I already said is that
I think that if I played Ages and then played Seasons, and to compare just really fast is that Ages really focus more on the puzzles, and I like that part at least. I don't like to just run through things. I like that there is there is some difficult to it.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, and Seasons is more of an action fun game.
I also think that's really great for the handhelds, that they focus a bit more on the puzzles than the combat, because that's, quite the same always.
Yeah, well, that's debatable, but I understand. Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is that the dungeons are less linear than... At least most of them are quite non-linear. Because the overall game is pretty linear, at least the dungeons have some non-linear design, and then you can take different routes and different solutions. And like the Jabu Jabu dungeon, which is quite a maze, and I enjoy that. Yeah. Whereas there are also some linear dungeons, like the Skull Cave, which is a Skull dungeon, which is like a very clear path through the whole thing. Well, you have a good mix of different designs. Like the eighth dungeon is like a hub. You have this hub design where you have a center point, you have to collect these 4 slabs and have different areas. So there's a good mix of different dungeon design in the game, which is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, one other thing that we don't see a lot in other Zelda games is the animals that help Link.
Yeah.
Like, what are their names? Dimitri is the one that swims.
Moosh is the bear and Ricky is the kangaroo.
Yeah.
So what you... played for the game recently, what did you get? Which animal?
I got Dimitri.
Dimitri, I always got the Moosh, and
Moosh is the default one.
Yeah, and I always got him.
Because you didn't get a flute. This is a bit a problem. You don't really know that there's a choice for you.
No.
Because the flutes are kind of hidden. But if you get a flute beforehand, you can get a different animal.
Yeah.
Like if you buy the flute from the shop, you get Dimitri. If you win it in the baseball game with the target shooting, you can get Ricky. There's like one entire area in the game which changes its
the environment.
It's the Noon Islands, area east of Symmetria Village.
Yeah.
Depending on what animal you have, it looks completely different. Like Moosh gives you this wasteland with lots of holes, which is kind of ugly. Dimitri gives you yet another water area, like a river. And Vicky gives you a grassland, a berry. which looks kind of nice. I always prefer Ricky because of the landscapes.
Yeah. Well, I remember this, Stephan, when we talked about it, when we were both playing it, and I asked you how you found the landscape with Moosh, and you, what? Moosh? I had Dimitri. You have to swim. Swim, though, you have to jump.
I was talking about the waterfalls, and Martin was like, waterfalls? There were holes in the ground. We didn't understand each other. No. So only a few days later, we were starting to understand that actually the landscape changed.
You told us.
Yeah, that was nice. So, let's talk about items for a second. Because how many items does the game have? I actually have it open right now. It's including the sword. It's 13 items.
Okay.
And maybe you can get one more if you start an Oracle of Seasons game first, or still not?
Yeah, you can there's the bigger one, sword and bomb juice for a link game.
Okay, nice. So Martin, I know you're a fan of items, right?
Yeah.
What did you like about the items?
Oh, yeah. Well, mostly I used my sword and shield in this game. But there was one item in particular I didn't like, at least, and that was the Cane of Samaria.
Oh.
Which I felt was just thrown in there for that one dungeon almost. Of course, in some of the other dungeons it was introduced as well, but it didn't really offer anything to the overworld exploring, or you couldn't... I don't know if you could kill with it, actually.
No, not in this game.
No. Yeah, you can.
Maybe you could summon the block
into an enemy.
Or throw it with a power bracelet.
Oh, okay.
You can throw.
Okay. Yeah.
But in Link to the Past, you could, if the block disappears, it makes these fireballs.
Yeah.
The same in Four Swords of Trenches, it does the same.
Yeah. And since I played Seasons first, I was a bit disappointed with the siege shooter as well. Even though it is quite cool because it bounces off.
Slower.
It is slower.
Slingshot.
Yeah. But that's for another podcast, I guess. So the siege shooter, I don't know what to say about it. It was an okay item. I just think the design of it was a little too big. It looked like
it's more puzzle focused, I guess.
It looks like something.
Cane of Samaria, it's more puzzle focused items.
Yeah.
The Switch Hook, very puzzle item. Siege Shooter is a puzzle item. Cane of Samaria are puzzle items because this is a puzzle game.
Exactly.
Seasons is the action game and gets the action items.
Do you know what item we didn't get? I realized a few days ago. The bow.
No.
Because you have a Siege Shooter.
But still, to not have a bow.
Well, I'm actually I'm a big fan of the bow in every game.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's only I think this is next to Zelda 2. This is the only Zelda games where you don't get the bow for all games.
Yeah. I think that's okay.
And also another important part of the game is collecting rings. Well, I think we can probably fill an hour with just talking about rings, but let's not do that.
As I said, I've written an extensive guide about the topics.
Yeah, we should provide a link.
I guess we would save this for the podcast about both games.
Yeah. I have something we could talk about, and that's the seeds. Did you find every seed you could get in the game useful?
It's a good question. Usually I don't like the Pegasus seeds too much compared to the Pegasus boots in A Link to the Past, so Link's Awakening, which are more loose as an item, as a button. I prefer this over the seeds.
Well, I actually like the Pegasus seed because I love just running fast.
but in other games you get the Pegasus boots who are more handy to use. You have instantly use the seeds.
I actually think the Pegasus seeds worked really well to just buff yourself with it, and then you could jump longer. I think it worked well, at least for me.
Yeah, you can just select another item. Yeah. You don't have to use an item slot.
This is the advantage of it. You can use 2 items afterwards here.
But if there's one seed I have to disagree with, it's the Scent seed or the Mystery seed. They could have mixed these two together, at least.
Yeah.
The Scent seed is very useful as for distance. Like it replaces the bow for the siege shooter.
Yeah, it just does damage.
Yeah, it's the only scent that does really damage on distance. So Ember seeds burn, the Pegasus seeds stun. For Gale Seals, teleport enemies away, and the mystery seeds do randomly have a random effect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I didn't notice that because I always used the scent seed for shooting because I thought
the scent seeds have this cool effect that draws enemies to them. And
yeah, but you only have to use it once.
Yeah, but you can use this for tactics, like put it down and place a bomb next to it and just have fun with the enemies.
It's funny because it's fun to play around with, but what Martin says, they could have combined this one with the mystery seed.
Yeah, so mystery seeds are like the magic powder from the Link to the Past and Link's Back. So I don't think you can combine these. The scent seeds replace the bait item from the first Zelda game. You have like the bait there. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a crazy view on this. But at least I didn't find the scent seed any useful for me at least, because I didn't use it to lure the mobs. Or I
think there's one puzzle, but I don't know if this is in seasons or...
No, it's in ages where you have to put down the scent seed and the snakes run out.
I think there's in both games, there's at least one puzzle with these.
Okay, yeah, but okay, I didn't really know that the scent seed did damage as the only one, but I also used it because I thought it was the most useless seed to actually have in my bags anyways.
Yeah. But still, it was nice to have 5 different seeds and use them in multiple ways. But so we already talked a little bit about music. For example, I really like the music of the Mermaid's Cave and some other ones, but I also hated some songs, like for example the house music. It drove me crazy. Maybe it was just because it was too loud. Because every time I entered the house, I thought, "Oh, let's turn down the volume."
Yeah, it's pretty loud.
Yeah, it was so annoying.
I think I played with my music too low because I didn't really notice it like annoying. But yeah, I don't notice the music too much in the games, which is. I don't do that, but I just don't. Yeah. I wish I did more because it's good music in most of the games, but I miss it all the time. I'm too much into the game and I forget listening.
I think music is a important part of Zelda.
Yeah. Well, and the 3D ones, I hear it, but in the handhelds I've been playing the last couple of weeks, I forget it so fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
I think because I played Phantom Hourglass and it has this very...
Phantom Hourglass, let's not talk about the music. But there were some hits and some misses, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, Martin, you wanted to talk about the bosses, right?
Yeah, I think I love boss fights in the Zelda games.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can... first of all, I think... I remember when we talked, Stephan, that I wanted some of the mini-bosses to be the main bosses because I think some of them are more, fitted to be so. Mm-hmm. But looking at the list now, there is just one, and that's the Armor's Warrior against Eyesore, which I can really see being the main boss compared to the others. But there are the Headfront boss. I didn't like that fight because you have to just throw in bombs, and if you miss or you do it wrong, just get in the corner and stay there and wait for it to be over and try again.
Yeah. I think no one likes that fight.
No, I think it was a stupid fight and they should have done something else.
Really some people just want to get over with and done with it.
And then Smog, where I know you, Stephan, you like Smog, the Smog fight with the rod.
That's a puzzle fight, a real puzzle fight, basically.
Yeah, I did.
That's the game.
Yeah, and I didn't like that fight. I hated it.
It was original.
Just putting it. Yeah.
It was unlike any other boss fight you've ever done. So maybe it didn't really feel like a typical boss.
Yeah.
But still to have this feeling like, oh, I have to solve a puzzle to defeat him. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay, yeah, it was okay in the beginning, but I think that when you got the point, you just had to do 4 stages of it, and it just dragged out a little for me. I wish they had put in something after you do the 2 first times, maybe make actually an actual fight of him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, just something we haven't discussed. What do you guys think about the boss Ramrock, the stone guy, with all those different phases where you have to throw bombs, you have to shoot your seed shooter. There's a lot of different phases. I like that boss.
Yeah, I think he's a great boss for the pre-final dungeon.
Yeah.
For the 8th dungeon. Good choice. you have to figure out what you want to use for this boss, because it's not always obvious. Like one part you have to use a seed shooter, and the other part you have to use the new power glove. What else was there?
You have to use your power bracelet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, the power gloves you have already.
Power gloves, yeah. True.
I thought the boss was way too easy in the first 3 stages. I immediately saw what I should do, and I did it without getting hit, I think. But then the last stage where he throws this ball on a chain at you, I knew I have to pick up that ball and throw it back at him. I
remember that you asked me in Skype,
yeah.
how do you beat this boss?
I couldn't figure it out. I was playing for 10 minutes, and in the end I had to ask you, and you said, yeah, you have to pull out the chain the ball that he didn't throw at you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was very annoying.
Okay.
But other than that,
one of my favorites is the shadow hack. So one of the third dungeon where you have to face a wall and use a seed shooter.
Yes, that was also a great fight.
That's a very cool fight. You don't get this in any other game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
what about the last fight? Did you guys find it difficult?
No.
First no, then yes, then no.
Yeah.
I had this very weird thing where I was just slashing at her, at Farron, you know, and then she turned into a bumblebee, and I slashed a few times more, and then bomb, she was dead. I beat the game. And I thought, what? That's impossible. So I actually went back to a restore point, and I did the same fight again. And then I died, because then she transformed into a spider, and
yes, like 3 different forms in the final phase, and you can tell. It can be annoying if I want a specific form, but it doesn't show up.
It's so weird. I mean, one form is so easy, and the other one is very hard.
And I think the spider form was easier than the bee form. It's just me.
I don't know. Maybe I just like to hack and slash.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think the spider form you have to use throw bombs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bombs are not my friend.
But it's more difficult in the Ramrock fight where you have these spikes and you have to place a bomb right between them. I think that's more difficult than hitting the spider.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
The spider is also quite big.
Yeah. So anyway, this game is the only game I heard that in which you have to play minigames. And you have to beat them.
That's not right. It has the biggest number of mandatory minigames.
Oh, biggest number, right.
This is very unusual. You have 4 different minigames or 5 of them which you have to beat in order to proceed in the story.
Mm-hmm.
In other Zelda games, this is unusual. Like it's rarely like in Majora's Mask, you have to beat the horse race to get the Garo Mask. Or in Ocarina of Time, you have to beat this diving minigame to get the Sora Scale.
Yeah, true.
So, there are a few minigames in all through the years which we have to beat, but rarely. Yeah. But in this game, it's like, this big thing. Okay.
And also pretty...
Especially on the Rolling Ridge with all the different Goron minigames, which can be quite annoying.
Yeah.
Especially the Goron Dance, the infamous Goron Dance.
Very infamous. I actually
Did you fail it a lot of times?
Actually, I think I'm pretty good at rhythm games.
Yeah.
So usually I would hear the rhythm and I'd copy it right away, or sometimes I needed a second chance. But I didn't think it was too difficult. But on the forum, I read a post of a guy that said I had to give my game to my little sister and she beat it for me. So,
Just Dance.
No, I always had problems with it. Not to get the keys, but the Bomber's Ring, which is like you have to beat the game perfectly on the hardest level. This is really hard to do, I think, because the songs get really crazy, like and then it makes a long pause, and you have to hit this pause perfectly, and it's really crazy. Yeah. But luckily, you can use save states on the 3DS, so it's a lot easier on the 3DS to beat this game than it was on the Game Boy.
Did you use the restore points a lot?
Only for the minigames, but not.
Okay.
Anyway.
Martin?
No, not so much. Maybe before a boss fight, but not once in them because, I want a fluid fight, and if I can't do it, I can't do it.
Yeah, same with me. Before the fight, and sometimes I saw that you could drop down a ledge, and I didn't know what was down there, so I would just save the game, make a restore point,
save some time.
Yeah, jump down and saw, oh no, I need to walk all the way back. No, let's not do that. Let's load the restore point. Other than that, it's
but
nice.
I didn't use it so much because it kind of ruins the experience. But yeah, if you use them for what we've said, then I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's not like cheating if you're only saving time.
I think it's a great addition.
You guys, as we're talking about mini games, what about the side quest, the big trade sequence throughout the game? You guys have, yeah. I'm the kind of you like, you like exploring. So
yes.
So did you find everything like in the way they should be?
I don't know which way it should be, but I'm the kind of guy, a Zelda gamer, who likes to explore everything he can. If you give me one item, I will not go to the next dungeon. No, I will walk throughout the whole map to try and find a place to use it.
Yeah. Me too, that's the way I play Zelda. Yeah. I always go for all items, and it's...
So that's why I found the next trade sequence like pretty fast.
And so you get all the items, Stephan. And how do you solve the riddle with you have a broken sword? What do you do? I remember you...
I was walking around for an hour or so thinking, who can fix things? Because you're giving a broken sword, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't remember where to fix stuff.
I think it's really obvious.
Yeah, it is.
You can already get the broken sword right after the 4th dungeon, which is...
I got it after 6.
Where you have to repair the tuning nut, which is actually a palindrome of... It's a cool detail. If you can spell tuning nut backwards and forwards, you get the right word. It's the same word. It's cool because it's Symmetria Village, because everything is symmetrical. Even the words in the village are symmetric.
Oh, lol, nice.
It's a cool detail.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, but you have to do this tuning nut quest, and right after the dungeon you can get the broken sword, and I think it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to repair this.
Yeah.
I think when I first played the game, I was like, oh no, I have to do this again, because I hated that minigame.
You had troubles with it?
Yeah, I had.
I think I was actually good at this one, because I always focused on getting 2 down in one of the top corners, and then...
I always try to get them all in one space, so I only have to kill them all with one hit. But
yeah, okay.
You have to run around a bit, and you always have to watch the track. And
I try to have them all in front of me all the time, so I could just stand on the button and slash them, and when the cart goes by, just...
want them all in one place. That's
exactly.
The secret to this game.
I've been pushing these guys into the abyss since A Link to the Past, so I was a pro at that game.
Yeah, you did it in the first try within...
I think so, yeah. I only missed it once.
Yeah.
The first time is not so bad, but if you want to repair the sword, it spawns a second wave of enemies, and it's like, oh no!
I thought I had it.
Yeah. It puts some heat on it.
It's really evil minigame.
Yeah.
So, Oracle of Ages, concluding marks.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice little game. Like, it's a good Zelda game. Like an average but very good Zelda game.
Yeah.
Every time I was playing it, I was thinking, I'm so glad they put it out like with minimal effort, maybe, because they let Capcom make it, and they reused the graphics of Link's Awakening DX.
Yeah.
But I thought it's well worth the money. It's well worth the
definitely.
Yeah.
Also, the time I love playing it and just going into the world and run around, change the time, having 2 worlds to explore. It's an amazing game.
Yeah. Frank, your thoughts?
Well, it's a very puzzle-heavy game, as I already said.
Yeah.
And a very minigame-heavy game, which can be a problem because I think the minigames are not as fun as in other games, like fishing, or I don't know.
Fishing isn't fun.
Yeah, not for Ocarina of Time fishing, the Twilight Princess fishing. Any other fun. I don't think the minigames are that fun, but they are mandatory for the game, which is a problem. And
so,
but otherwise, I like the story, the little bit more darker story, and Yeah, the puzzles are great. They have replay value, which is rare for a game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And good dungeon design. Very good dungeon design.
Yeah, true.
And you also have, when you finish the game, you get a secret code to go into the other world and continue your story. And we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
But that's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
And it adds something to the story. And you'll also see, Stephan, as you haven't played Seasons yet.
I played half of it 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Ah, okay.
But I'm going
nice.
to replay it in the coming weeks. And then we'll talk about ages. Seasons.
Seasons.
Yeah, Seasons.
Yeah. Alright, this was our first podcast. We're still trying to see how it went and what we can change. So if you guys have feedback, please let us know.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, stay tuned for our next podcast, which might be about the Wind Waker HD. We haven't decided yet. And of course, Oracle of Seasons and the Oracle games in general. Playing both games together.
And I think we should talk about The Link to the Past before Adventure of
definitely.
comes out. We'll see what happens. Okay. Well, it was a pleasure doing this with you, and
thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for
listening. See you
listening.
next time.
Bye.